What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Rats Report. It's time to talk about the Toronto Raptors because they may be having a fire sale. Now, you're probably thinking the Raptors have already unloaded OG Anunoby to the New York Knicks and Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers. How many more players maybe can they move? Well, there's quite an interesting report that came out that could suggest otherwise. So I'm going to be discussing that in today's video. So if you're ready to watch, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to hit the subscribe button as well, that would be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Maria Chi Sensei. So Maria, thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now let's talk about the Toronto Raptors because Matt Moore came out with a list of things he's been hearing about every single team leading up to the trade deadline. And this is what he had to say regarding the Toronto Raptors. They're not done. Word is that everyone who isn't Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, or Jakob Poeltl is available. The Raptors want to reset their timeline in terms of the age of their players. Curiously, Poeltl is 28. Gary Trent is a name most frequently discussed, and the Lakers and Nets among the team with interest. Now, you're probably thinking, if the Raptors are looking to reset, why would they want to keep Jakob Poeltl? When you take into consideration, when you look around the NBA and how hard it is to find a center that is mobile, that is, a good defensive player. Yes, Jakob has his shortcomings, no doubt about that, but it's really challenging. Like most teams will be asking for at the very least, a first-round pick, which I don't know the Raptors should be giving up at the moment. I mean, he is 28, but he's also a player that you can keep on the roster for the time being and maybe look to move on in the near future. Now, in terms of Gary Trent Jr., this has been a player that has not been mentioned by Masai Ujiri, executive of the Toronto Raptors, once. He's had press conference after press conference this year, last year, summer, trade deadline, post-trade deadline, whatever you want to say. He has yet to mention Gary Trent's name once. So it does not surprise me if the Raptors would move on from Gary Trent Jr. Now, the question a lot of fans may be asking is, why would the Raptors want to move on from Gary Trent? He's 25 years old. He spaces the floor, which the Raptors desperately need. They need some three-point shooting. Well, it's quite evident when you take a look at their salary cap situation. Now, the Toronto Raptors heading into next season will be on the hook for $113.7 million, which does not include Emmanuel Quickly's at least $25 million contract. And you take that into consideration, you don't have a ton of money to spend. You take a look at Gary Trent's contract now, he's making $18.5 million. And next season, it's being reported since last season that he is looking for a contract around the $20 million range. Now, you look at that, and that really complicates things. So when you talk about Gary Trent Jr., he is a very good young player, but when you talk about some of the things he's able to bring to the Raptors, is three-point shooting, and that's it. He's not a strong defender. I will say this time and time again, he hasn't improved very much in his tenure with the Toronto Raptors. I know he had that season where he got a lot of steals, and that fooled a lot of people that didn't watch the Toronto Raptors because they thought he was a great defender. He really was not. He would gamble for steals, and yes, he has his limitations, and he's a good three-point shooter, but besides that, he's not providing much for the Toronto Raptors. And given how, you see this Raptors salary cap situation, do you really want to pay someone $20 million that doesn't do much outside of three-point shooting? And, he's a good free throw shooter despite what he's shooting this year from the free throw line. So I think the answer is quite evident. Now, in terms of some of the teams that are interested, the Lakers and the Nets, let's take a look at the roster and what may intrigue the Raptors and what players they might not want. Now, when you look at the Lakers, I'm going to be very blunt here. Austin Reeves is the only player I'd probably want back, but they're not giving him up. It's quite evident. And also, given his contract, he's on a very team-friendly contract with the type of production he has. Austin Reeves is also a really good young player who I just don't see the Lakers giving up. Reminder that they didn't want to give up Austin Reeves for DeJounte Murray. If that's actually true, we'll see it. We'll see it if the trade deadline passes and they don't give him up for DeJounte Murray. But in terms of some of the other players, I know people will point to someone like a Jalen Hood-Schifino. Again, reminder that Gary Trent is making about $18 million, so you would have to include other salaries in there. And with respect to D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, even someone like a Gabe Vincent, it doesn't make a ton of sense for the Raptors to take on those type of salaries for the time being. Rui Hachimura has a really bad contract. That is for the production he's providing. I cannot justify paying him $17 million and 18 the following season. So again, the likelihood that this deal gets done is very unlikely. Yes, he is a clutch, he's a clutch client. We know where that, LeBron James and where those clients come from. So in terms of this, I just don't see a deal getting done. They don't have a ton of assets they can give the Toronto Raptors. And also the Raptors just aren't really interested in some of the pieces that they may want Maybe you look at a three-team deal. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Three-team deals are very rare. But let's take a look at the Nets roster and what the Raptors may want from here. Now, taking a look at the Nets roster here, again, $18 million. You think of someone like a Dorian Finney-Smith, who apparently the Nets want 2 first-round picks for. I'm not interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. Again, I just can't justify players making that type of money, with the type of production. Nick Claxton could be interesting. A lot of Raptors fans want him. You can sign him realistically in free agency. You have a lot of cap space. Royce O'Neal doesn't make sense. Noah Clonley, some of their younger guys, Jariq Whitehead, they're not trading. Again, you have to include salary. So unless they're willing to attach a first-round pick and maybe a Spencer Dinwiddie, maybe that's a big maybe if that deal gets it done. Maybe again, I don't know. It's really difficult to say, but again, it becomes very challenging considering that the Raptors and the Nets had trade discussions surrounding Kevin Durant many few seasons ago, and we saw what the trade discussions were like. They wanted Scotty Barnes. Raptors said no. Discussions were over, understandably, from both sides. So it's clear that the Nets aren't really going to give up what we want. And with respect to the Nets, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense for them. They're a team that aren't, a playoff contender. And Gary Trent is the type of player that will help a playoff contending team. The Nets currently are probably an 8th to 11th ranked team in the Eastern Conference. And I don't know if this is the right move for them. In fact, I think a team that should really look to inquire him, and it's going to be kind of hypocritical, Nana, what I just said about the Nets, is someone like the Charlotte Hornets. You need to surround LaMelo Ball with some sort of talent. And I actually really believe Gary Trent would be nicer. So now in terms of some of the other players as well, it was also being reported by Basketball on X. Shout out to them. They've been doing a great job as well. But they were reporting that Raptors Chris Boucher will most likely be traded by the trade deadline. According to Blake Murphy, Chris Boucher is going to have a new home at some point. I can tell you in fairly certain terms that's being explored and will probably happen by February 8th. Now you're looking at this and asking yourself, why would any team want Chris Boucher? It's simple. He's someone that can, although he's very inconsistent, he's someone that can come in, provide three-point shooting, listed at 6'9". Again, it's a luxury to have power forwards that can space the floor for you. Anytime they can hit threes, he's 6'9". He can block shots for you. He's not a great rebounder, but he'll occasionally have games where he'll get you 8 rebounds in like 10 minutes. He's a very high energy player. And if I'm a playoff team, I'm actually wanting to acquire Chris Boucher despite his salary. Again, I'm going to quickly go back on the salaries here. Right now, currently this season, you see Chris Boucher there making $11.7 million. Next season, he's making $10.8 million. He's also 31 years old as well. And if the Raptors do trade him, he will be the last player from the championship roster. Yes, he did not play, but he's officially will be the last player to be moved off of that roster. Now, again, I know I'm going to quickly go back on this in terms of Chris Boucher's trade value. Jake L. Fisher was reporting about several weeks ago that Boston Celtics have liked Chris Boucher for quite some time. So if an organization like the Celtics, who are very intelligent, like Chris Boucher, that kind of gives you an idea that there definitely should be some level of interest from other teams around the NBA as well. Now, I want to quickly go through the Raptors roster one more time here. Some of the other players, obviously, we could be looking at is Bruce Brown, as a name we'll definitely hear a lot of. He's actually a player being linked to the Lakers, as well. And then you've got guys like Dennis, who's definitely outperforming his contract. And again, if playoff contenders are calling, I will not say no. Even for a late first-round pick, I think you do that deal, absolutely. And at this point, I think the Raptors, yes, you need veterans, but they should definitely be looking to accumulate assets. A reminder, you can always flip the first-round picks to move up in the draft, but also you can also flip those first-round picks for maybe certain role players that you want to acquire in the near future. So again, will be very interesting to see what the Raptors do come the trade deadline. They have a lot of pieces that can be moved. Do I think they're going to move every single piece? Absolutely not. So we'll see what happens. But I'm very curious to hear what you think about these reports surrounding Gary Trent Jr. Would you want the Raptors to move on from Chris Boucher? He does provide veteran presence for a lot of the younger players as well. He's also been someone that's been on the Raptors for quite some time. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, I do have a trivia question for you today. And the trivia question for today is, who is third in Raptors history in points per game? So again, not a reminder, just points per game. Is it A, Chris Bosh? Is it B, Pascal Siakam? Is it C, DeMar DeRozan? Or is it D, Mike James? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've almost about lost my voice here. I've had to redo this video quite a few times. I've made some errors, but if you're still watching, guys, make sure to hit the subscribe button. That will be it for today's video. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.